National Conference on Promotion of Peace and Tolerance concludes by adopting resolution to address religious extremism in Ethiopia. Somali federal government and Juba interim administration agreed to cooperate in establishing robust federal structure in Somalia. Good morning. I'm Aida Salamun, and this is ETV News. The National Conference on Promotion of Peace, Tolerance and Coexistence in Ethiopia has concluded by adopting a resolution to address religious extremism in the country. The conference took high note that extremism must not hamper the nation's all-rounded efforts to triumph over poverty. Hanok Tasfai reports.
The conference, in its second-day program, entertained 3 study papers on religious extremism in Ethiopia and its solutions, the role of women and youth in the national peace-building process, and the issue of peace and development in religious institutions. The first study presenter, Dr. Shifarao Teklemariam, who is Minister of Federal Affairs, underscored that currently it's impossible to find a single reason which could be a baseline for religious extremists and fundamentalists in Ethiopia.
We don't have a community that rejects diversity. Traditional community-based institutions have never made their basis on religion or ethnics. The people of Ethiopia can only be explained in terms of its long-standing culture of tolerance and coexistence. In addition, this democratic government system has also accepted the diversity and equality of all religion. So the country has no any foundation for extremists and fundamentalists.
Dr. Shifarao indicated that the idea of some groups has nothing to do with religion, rather they are operating under the guise of religion mainly to solicit funds from abroad, to gain political power indirectly, and to create religious-based state which is in sharp contradiction with the constitution. He also said the other grand cause for extremism is poverty and backwardness, so that the country should remain steadfast in expediting development endeavors.
The prior factor for our exposure for extremism is poverty and backwardness, so all of our focus should be on development and poverty reduction endeavors.
Chair of the panel and senior policy and research advisor to the Prime Minister, Barakat Simon, said the Constitution has clearly assured religious freedom and has closed all the doors for extremism. The second paper for the day discussed the role of women and youth and national peace building. The presenter of the study, Hirut Dilebo, head of Women's Affairs Council under the Minister of Federal Affairs, assessed the historical backgrounds of women as the guardians of peace and tolerance in the country. She also said women are on the forefront to be subject to any crisis, so that they have to play their role in controlling any signs of intolerance which could lead to violence. The National Conference aimed at promoting peaceful coexistence and tolerance among religious groups in Ethiopia, organized by the Ministry of Federal Affairs and the Ethiopian Inter-Religious Council, is being attended by some 2,500 participants from across the country. Some of the participants we interviewed were supportive of the ideas of the papers presented.
We should denounce extremists as a community, religious institutions and government. The problem of extremism is causing national damage in many countries. We should not let that happen in our country. Religious institutions should not have political agenda. If they have political issues, there is another place for that. But it is unjust to raise political agenda under the pretext of religion. We're preaching this idea to the face.
Ethiopia is a country for all nations, nationalities and religions. It is in this base that we build a peaceful and prosperous nation.
The second-day deliberation of the National Conference has concluded by adopting a resolution. The conference is expected to end on Wednesday.
Meanwhile, the employees of Addis Ababa City Roads Authority held a panel discussion on religious tolerance and the renaissance of Ethiopia. Participants of the panel took high note that Ethiopians' anti-poverty struggle will not be hampered by the hidden agenda of anti-peace elements operating under the guise of religion. Ethiopian Housing Development Agency General Manager Mesfin Mengistu, who presented a paper at the panel, noted that the Constitution ensured religious equality and singled out the separation of state and religion. Authority General Manager Engineer Fakad Haile, for his part, stressed on the role of the public in combating religious extremism. In a 6-point resolution they adopted, the employees vowed to step up commitment to deal with extremism, which they described as an obstacle to Ethiopia's development. In a related development, participants of a peace conference held in Dirredawa City vowed to fight extremists who are bent on promoting their hidden political agenda under the guise of religion. During the conference, the residents deliberated on religious equality ensured by the Constitution and agreed that everyone has the responsibility to respect all religions. They mentioned that they will step up efforts to deal with the wicked acts of the extremists. The head of the city's religious council urged the public to sustain the long-standing culture of coexistence and tolerance of the nation. Employees of the National Council in charge of public mobilization for the Grand Renaissance Hydropower Dam have planted tree seedlings at Gulele Botanic Garden here in Addis Ababa. Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen said the initiative plays a great role towards sustaining green economic development. Media and Communication Director with the Council, Fakadu Katema, said 25% of the dam construction has been completed. As for him, 10 million farmers have carried out various activities related to basin development and planting of seedlings on 13 million hectares of land in the just concluded fiscal year. According to the Council, 5.2 billion birr has been collected out of 10.2 billion birr pledged for the dam. Some 206 Ethiopians who were in exile in Yemen have returned home with the joint efforts of the government of Ethiopia and the International Organization for Migration. Office of the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs told Ethiopian news agency the Ethiopians returned home over the past 2 days. Another 158 Ethiopians are expected to arrive in Addis Ababa on Wednesday. According to the ministry, efforts will be made through the task force established for the same cause to bring home more Ethiopians. Ministry of Agriculture calls for harmonization of efforts of stakeholders to maximize the nation's earnings from livestock development. The 21st Annual Conference of Ethiopian Society of Animal Production is taking place in Addis Ababa under this theme, Livestock and Economic Growth in Ethiopia, Value Chains as a Pathway for Development. Lalo Itala has more.
We are looking at value chains for livestock development so that we ensure that the sector develops reasonably well in a more integrated manner so that it can contribute more to economic development of the country. And this has been clearly indicated in the growth transformation plan of the government, at the same time the agriculture growth program of the government.
Ethiopian Society of Animal Production, ESAP, is holding its 21st annual conference in the capital, Addis Ababa. Speaking at the opening of the conference, ESAP President Dr. Getachew Gebru said the contribution of the association in research, policy and development areas has been immense since its inception now.
ESAP has made significant change to position itself in shouldering its responsibility as a professional society and also as an umbrella for much bigger national tasks that can have significant contribution towards research, training, development.
According to Dr. Getachew, members of the association will deliberate on various research papers in the 2 days meeting. He stated members and other stakeholders shall share knowledge and information which is essential to enhance the quality of livestock's development.
So that the knowledge sharing is increasingly seen as a sine qua non to professional survival. And it is the vision of ESAP to be able to agilely share this knowledge among its members and partners.
Dr. Gabriel Mikhail Gabriel Yohannes, Ethiopian State Minister of Livestock with the ministry, for his part underscores that even though Ethiopia is endowed with huge livestock population, it is not utilizing its fullest capacity. He mentioned the state ministry is committed to work with concerned bodies toward achieving progress in livestock development. But harmonization of various stakeholders is fundamental for effectiveness of value chains, he added.
The unified vision, synergy and harmonization of stakeholders that is required along the value chain are critical factors for this approach to be effective.
Members of the association who are taking part in the conference say they are optimistic that if the traditional way of animal production is transformed into modern one, better benefit can be obtained from the sector.
The livestock population in the country is very huge. But again, the paradox is we're very much attached to traditional livestock production system. This has to change to reap the benefits of the livestock sector.
Ethiopian Society of Animal Production engages in research and development activities, food science, food security, breeding and genetic engineering, among others. It is noted that the federal government has established new state ministry of livestock to curb challenges and find ways for challenges facing the sector. The participants are expected to deliberate on annual reports, research papers related with livestock production in the 2 days conference.